All right. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Good, man. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you on. Tell us who you are, what you do.
So my name is Draye Redfern. I have a couple of different companies in the marketing space. I own redfernmedia.com. I also own fractionalcmo.com. Every one of their
Awesome.
mother brands themselves is a fractional CMO these days, and I'm the lucky one that has the domain.
You should have trademarked that.
I have tried 3 times and across 2 different entities, and it cannot be done.
That's funny. That's good. Yeah, I was listening to some podcast a little while ago. You should still keep trying it. I was listening. One of my favorite shows on TV is Pawn Stars.
Yep.
And it's the TV show, I think, on History Channel. And Rick was talking about how he got his pawn license. I have to say pawn, not porn, pawn license, for like $50. And every time he went down there to get his license, they would deny him, and they'd be like, "Well, let me look at this code." And they were like, "Well, if the city ever gets over," this was done in like the 1950s. "If the city ever gets over 1 million people, we'll issue another pawn license." Well, he's like, "Dude, we have to be over 1 million people." This was like in the 90s or something. So he paid like $50 for this license because they finally took him to court, won. And then now they're selling more pawn license right now for over $2 million.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
keep persistent, and then you can get this fractional CMO trademark.
Yeah, there's one person that tried before me. There's about a dozen people that have tried after me, but yeah, you can't do it thus far. But I'll add it to the list and keep doing it.
Yeah, a couple years ago I got Agency Playbook as a trademark because a lot of people have been trying to do that, and obviously we can stop that. And same thing with Agency Mastery. We own that as a trademark now, so it can be done. You just got to be persistent. I think you'd be persistent and get that.
I like it. I like it.
Tell us, how did you get into the marketing space?
It's one of these things where my dad was an entrepreneur. So I was fortunate enough to get the behind the scenes, look at how the sausage is made. And all of the trials and tribulations and more month than money and all the things that go with it. But also something where it really turned into something. So I started working in his business when I was 12. Not like I didn't have this entrepreneurial, like I'm going to sell newspapers at age 4 sort of thing or whatever. But I just got to learn it. I got to do the filing and the scanning and all of the grunt menial work of like how a business.
You like that part?
Oh God, no, it was awful. But it allowed me. He was dead set on having no nepotism. And so it allowed me to legitimately start from the bottom and work up. And at that time, as time went on, there's about 30-ish people in the company. And I stepped into the marketing. I was doing some marketing. I loved it. My ideas that were implemented ended up working better than everyone that was there. And so through college, I worked there. And eventually after college, shortly thereafter, as like a 21-year-old kid, running a marketing department of a $28 million company at the time, in annual sales. And we grew that to north of $40 million a year in annual revenue, with me leading the helm of all of the marketing.
What type of business was this?
It was an insurance agency. So sort of a mini little like lesson here. It was an insurance agency that was not like your property and casualty insurance or life insurance with most people. We sold E&O insurance, errors and emissions insurance, or malpractice insurance is how it's commonly referred to 1 to 3 attorney law firms. So small law, not big law firms, not any of those things. And we eventually grew it to about 8,700 law firms that we had insured annually. So, all the people in the space would go after big law, 100 plus attorney firms, whatever else. We played the volume game. So if you lost one, you never felt it.
Yeah.
But you build it up over time. You build a good name, brand recognition. So I did that for 5-10 years, whatever it ended up being. And we exited that 3 years ago last month to one of the Berkshire Hathaway companies. So it's kind of cool that you say you sold a company to And at the time of exit, I controlled about 49% of the company. So it was a good thing, when Berkshire flies out all of their MBAs and they give you the number colonoscopy and they say, bend over and please let me review everything. They're serious. So learned a lot going through that. We'd bought a separate business. I've sold 2 businesses since. So there's so many things maybe there to unpack, but I think that in general, that was sort of the origin story of entrepreneurship, is like starting from the ground up, learning it in someone else's business, which happened to be my father's, and then eventually taking it from that point to eventually full exit on the back end for a very healthy number.
The funny thing is I didn't know who Berkshire Hathaway was, like when I first got started in the agency world. I had a really amazing call with them. They invited me to their office in Atlanta to redesign their website. I think this was, if I can remember right, BerkshireHathaway.com. And I never did any research. I went in, I pitched them like a $10,000 website, but they were expecting like, a much bigger website. And I went back to the office and my business partner at the time was like, who'd you meet with? And I was like, I don't know, some company, Berkshire or something. I've never heard of them. He's like, Berkshire Hathaway? Like, that's one of the largest companies in the world. I was like, oh, okay.
You left a couple zeros on the table.
But their website, I think still to this day, is still the same old piece of crap website they had years ago.
I believe
like
it.
30 years ago.
Yeah, I believe it.
So that's pretty funny when you mentioned selling the Berkshire Hathaway. And the other thing too is I didn't know, I was talking to a buddy, we went to a car show a little while ago, and we're talking about the State Farm agent or something. And he's like, yeah, man, it's very profitable business, but you can't sell it. And I was like, oh, that sucks. So when you said you sold the insurance agency, I was like, oh, that's intriguing. Like, how did you do that? But the errors and omissions, which all of you should get, because that will save your ass later on if anything ever goes wrong.
There's a mini masterclass that could go right into that. Like the majority of businesses, like our business owners, only focus on growth. Like, how do I blow the roof off of this thing? And whether that's marketing stuff or being overly promissory or whatever the thing is, let's just make money. And they don't really think about protecting the downside. So my brain, having spent 15 years in risk management, is how do I mitigate downside risk first? And once I have that locked down, then blow the roof off.
Yeah.
And it's a little backwards than how most do it. But you're exactly right. Like if you were running an ad campaign and that ad campaign gets the company sued, you could very easily be held liable for that. Or even if not, they could still drag you into it. And then you got to pay the legal fees to defend yourself, even though you got their approvals or whatever the thing was. And that could be, you blink and that's $500 to $1 million.
Oh, when we started working with bigger brands, they actually required us to carry back then like $1 million, $2 million policy of EOS, or I'm saying EOS. Errors and emissions? EO, I don't know. I can't. I'm dyslexic. I'll just say errors and emissions.
Yeah. It's totally true. Like a lot of the bigger companies do require it, but it's just like, it's not that expensive.
Oh.
It's it's a couple $1,000. It'll get a little bit more expensive for the first 5 years. It's called a step rate factor. After that, it pretty much levels out. But it's one of these things where your general liability, which a lot of businesses have, will cover the slip and fall or whatever else if it happens like in your physical premises. If you end up running an ad campaign or doing something that causes someone to get hacked or whatever else, someone on your team leaked a password and a client got, an issue, you're liable for those things. E&S, like errors and omissions insurance, will be the ones that cover things like that. Your general liability will not. So typically,
do you have like a deductible or any of that, or is it just they cover everything?
It'll be a deductible. It'll range from $1,000 to $10,000 usually. It just kind of depends.
Okay,
but it's one
just
of those
like everything else. You kind of pick how much you want to pay on the front end versus the back end or whatever.
That's exactly it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember it just being a couple $100, but this was a long time ago.
Yeah, a couple thousand now. It'll get a little bit more expensive, but like your EPLI, like your employment practices or like things like that, insurance, your general liability, and your errors and omissions insurance are usually 3 that you should have. I'd add cyber liability on top of that too, because hackers are going after a couple different niches. Law firms are one of them because law firms have social security numbers and personal information for a lot of
Yeah.
people. Various small doctors' offices because they also have security social security numbers. And believe it or not, marketing agencies are up there because marketing agencies have the keys to the kingdom for a lot of various types of
Logins.
businesses. And
Yeah.
so if I hack the marketing agency, I can hack into dozens of other people's stuff. And like my spider web of access grows very, very quickly. So just
We
something to keep in mind.
we years ago, we were a huge partner for Sitefinity. It was this big CMS system before like WordPress. And
Yep.
we, like every agency, we'd create a portfolio page and put all our websites on there. And Sitefinity had, they were hacked, or someone figured out a hack into their CMS systems. And so one of our clients called one day and was like, "Hey, my site's down." And so we looked at it, and then another client, "My site's down." We started looking at our portfolio page. They literally started hacking it, going from the top all the way to the bottom. We're like, "Call so and so, they're about to be hacked." And it was crazy. So I like that you said the cybersecurity. So they have insurance for that too?
Yeah, it's called cyber liability insurance. And the interesting thing is a lot of like malpractice insurance or E&O insurance covers cyber liability. But the problem is if you expose your limits there and you have to get cyber attacked, you could eat your limits up, which means it's kind of like an insurance talk and we're going to burn a lot of marketers out. But I think that if you have $1 million policy, and the way that like this type of insurance works is called a claims made policy, not like your normal auto insurance or homeowners insurance, et cetera. This type of policy ends up, you erode your limits, which basically ends up meaning like if you have a $500,000 loss with a cyber liability thing over here because someone got hacked, your $1 million policy, now you only have $500,000 left of coverage indefinitely until you no longer renew that policy, or what's called tailing out, which is a very, very complicated line of insurance. And so for a couple extra bucks, you could have had a cyber liability policy and not exposed any of your big liability on your errors and omissions insurance. So there's like 4 kinds of insurance that I would say: general liability, your employment practices, your errors and omissions, which is also known as malpractice, and then cyber liability. So for maybe $5,000 a year, most businesses are pretty well covered at that point in time then.
And so, but doesn't the policy renew every year though? And so your limits renew, or and just to let everybody know too, you don't sell insurance anymore. This is
No, I'm not a part of that
yeah.
business. I mean, I still have my errors and omissions. My P&C, my property and casualty insurance, my life and health insurance licenses, and my surplus lines licenses, because I go through one more renewal and then I'm grandfathered on 20 years, and I don't need to ever go through my continuing education anymore. So it's like, may as well do it. But yeah, I'm not involved in that line of work anymore. It's purely marketing stuff. But yeah, having spent 15 years in risk management, it's definitely always top of mind.
Always on the head. Yeah. So, but if your policy renews every year, you only can use that limit up for that year, right? It's not for a lifetime?
That is how traditional insurance works.
Ooh.
What errors and omissions insurance is done is not made on a occurrence-based policy. Meaning, if you bought insurance on January 1st and on January 2nd you got into a car accident, you're covered. On December 31st, you're covered. But if you didn't renew your insurance, and on January 1st the following year you didn't have insurance, you're shit up creek, like you're stuck.
Okay.
Claims made policy, which is what an errors and omissions policy is, basically means like that limit or that set of limits that you have can get eroded. And the reason why prices continually go up for a period of 5 years is that is your limit. Now, if you non-renew, like I'll use an example. Let's say you go through year 1, no issues. Year 2, when you renew, they're covering you all the way back to the January 1st of the previous year and this year. And so as time goes on, the potential liability gets even greater because you're a business. Just because I did something today doesn't mean I'm going to get sued today. I could have done something 18 months ago. It just got found today, and now I'm getting sued. And so the exposure changes as time goes on. And so the type of policy changes. So what a lot of people do, and we're literally in the process of doing this right now, is you have that policy for 5 or 10 years or whatever it is. you want to cap that, preserve it, you what's called tail out, or you get an extended reporting period, which basically means that's locked down and protected. So anything from that previous time is locked down, protected. But to do that, you typically have to pay like 4 to 5 times a single year's premium. So to tail out, I'll probably have to spend 30 grand coming up here to prevent, like, lock in all of that stuff. We've never had any instances. So all of my stuff is covered. Then I can start new. That's how I like to do it, because you will protect them over a period of time. But you get some people who've gone 20, 30 years. They've got the same limits, whatever else, time goes on, but it consistently goes up and up for at least the first 5 because the exposure goes up. So it's a very kind of different, way more complex line of insurance.
I never thought about that, because I get this errors and omissions now, but that's protecting me from today on for something I did years ago.
Yep. And the other part of it, this is the real kicker. A lot of people are like, oh crap, I didn't renew it this month, I'll renew it next month. If you do that in a general, like a regular occurrence-based policy, no big deal. Like, you're covered today, and you like get in a car accident tomorrow, you're totally fine. With a claims-made policy, if you lapse it, like you non-renew it or something happens, all of that coverage can go bye-bye like that.
Ooh.
So it's a much more like, you need an actual insurance agent that knows what the heck that they're doing in that space. And again, I'm not a part, like, I have nothing to preach or sell on that side of things. But it's one of those things that, you mentioned State Farm. They'll offer you some sort of like, malpractice insurance line. I would always go to an independent insurance agent, because they can access more carriers. They have more options, more deductibles, various lines. Some of them will have a cyber liability bolt on, something like that, in order to basically get you more covered, because we're in decent times right now. You can argue politically one way or the other, always. But the reality is, and we saw this in a little bit during the COVID times, like, as COVID happened, there's like a variety of like industries had increases in lawsuits, because crap, my industry is drying up. I'm just going to go sue him and him because I need money, or like people being opportunists.
Yep.
And I wrote a book a few years ago called The Recession Survival Guide. Every 11 years on average, a recession happens. Every 100 years on average, a depression happens, typically in Western countries, which basically means we're due for both. Well, if you don't have some sort of downside protection and the economy does go off a cliff, even if your business is still doing fine, there are opportunists out there that be like, well, I can just go sue them because that's easy money. He's crushing it right now. I'm just going to go after him. And whether you're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. You still have to defend yourself. And everyone grossly underestimates the cost of what it takes to actually defend yourself in a lawsuit. So there's a lot there.
That's crazy. Well, I want to switch focus a little bit. Probably a lot, right? I want to talk about getting bigger brands, or winning those clients that we are like would be a premium client for us. And because I find a lot of people are just taking on clients that were referred, which I always kind of joke around with people. I'm like, referrals just aren't scalable unless you do it in a certain way. Which is like 1% of people. But how did you win bigger clients for your agency?
Mine's probably different than maybe some people, but maybe not. Like, we've got publicly traded companies currently on our client docket. Like, we've helped a lot of big personality brands, like Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He wrote, Who Not How, The Science of Scaling, that just hit New York Times bestseller this week. Damon John, Chris Voss, the FBI hostage negotiator, Robin Sharma, who wrote the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, Joe Polish. I mean, a bunch of people. Almost all of those came from me being in the room. Now, the room is different for each of those people, but like people like to hang around like people. Successful people like to hang around other successful people. Decision makers like to hang out with other decision makers.
Oh.
So really, my job in the company anymore is to like really just find, how do I get into the room with the right people? And so for me, like, as an example, like masterminds, like Genius Network was a huge catalyst for me getting, obviously, Joe Polish, because he runs Genius Network, and Dr. Benjamin Hardy as clients. And and other rooms like that, being around other people, whether it's promotional stuff or small different events or whatever else, getting in the room with the decision makers or with the personality brands. And then it sounds so damn cheesy, and I hate to even say it out loud, but give for free.
Mhm.
And that is so bass backwards for how most people operate. Like, well, I'll get the retainer first and then I'll do the damn thing. Like, perfect example, Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He gave a talk immediately after the talk. I was like, this is great. Really super. Thank you for sharing this, because he was getting 30,000 opt-ins a month for free. I said, how are you monetizing this? He goes, I'm
What's
not.
that?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I built him a simple sort of funnel sort of step thing. It was making him $10,000 a month passively for months and months and months on end. A few months into that, he's like, what else can you do? And then the rest is history. For basically the last 10 years, we've run a lot of his launches, not all of them, but the vast majority of them.
Mhm.
Help, like, he'd fly out to our office several times a year, and written articles in Forbes and yada yada yada. All of that came from me asking a question, being in the room, and giving first. And that's
Yeah.
sort of my MO with a lot of these types of people, even the publicly traded ones. Like, I offered to fly out to their board meeting, which happened to be in Vancouver. I live in Texas. It's kind of a hike, to basically say, hey, here's what I would do
Just a
differently.
cheap Uber or a Lyft up there.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. Like, but I told him, like, here, even if we never did anything together, I flew up here on my own dime. This is exactly what I would do if I were you. I would do it in this step, that step, this step, and that step. And after that, then you're going to see this result. And then I left. Sure enough, like 3 weeks later, we had the contract.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't realize that. And, you gotta, and I always tell them, you have to make your hit list. We call it like the top 50 hit list or the top 20 hit list. Like, who are your perfect clients and how can you help them out? Like, even if you were not even in the room with them, I've told people in the past, I said, look, if you were trying to get me as a client, I want you to research me, look at what we're doing. And let's say you saw something like you saw 5 or 10 things that I could instantly do. Like, if I had a red button and you're like, change it to green, your opt-ins will go up. And you sent me one video telling me that, and I did it. Then I started seeing value. And then a week later, you're like, hey, I was thinking about your email that you sent. It went actually into the promotion folder. And here's one little thing you can do to get it out of the promotion folder. And then it worked. Or, hey, did you check out the Postmaster in Google and see where you're ranked? Are you great, good, or bad, or shitty with the spam filters? Like, there's no way I'm going to ignore you.
100%. Because it's someone showing that you matter. They recognize who you are. They're spending time and all of those sorts of things. Like, it dates back, I quote this all the time. Dates back 100 or something years or so ago to the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Hmm.
Like, people don't want to feel like a number. They want to feel like they matter. One of my favorite lines from that book is, the sweetest sound to someone's ears is the sound of their own name. So I try to use it all the dang time. Like, on landing page, this is something that a really tactical takeaway a marketing agency can take away. On all of our pages, someone's like, yeah, I'm interested. Let's move forward. We take a page, we clone the previous version of it. We change out, Bill to Susan, Susan to John, or whatever it was, in the URL slug, and ClickFunnels or High Level or whatever it is you're using. We say, welcome, John. And then I make, or my director of operations make, a quick video that says, hey, John, Draye Redfern here. Really excited. We're going to be doing X, Y, and Z. And you take that URL and send it to them. Because then they're going to be like, oh my God, they made a website for me. Welcome, John. And then there's like me with a big old grin on, being like, hey, John, really excited to work with you.
Yeah.
That entire process takes maybe 10 to 15 minutes. So
Yep.
people talk about it all the time. We've got referrals solely based off of that. And it starts the relationship at a really good high note, because they feel warm, they feel like they matter, and they feel like you're willing to go the extra lengths to actually work with them.
Yeah, and it's getting harder and harder just because of AI. People don't realize, they don't know if it's really you, right? Like, it's kind of, I remember when messenger bots came out. And at the time, I fell into this by accident, right? Like, I literally was getting inundated by people filling out my online form, like, all day long. And I was like, fuck all of you, because it's just a typical robot spam. And I was just pissed off. So I'm like, fuck you. I'm going to change my contact page into a messenger bot. And so then I called it the Don Draper bot because it had like Don Draper smoking a cigarette. And I'd be like, are you an agency owner? And they would ask a couple questions. But what I did, and that was all automated. But what I did was after they answered those questions, like 2 or 3, I literally, because I was always at my son's like swim meet. If you ever been to swim meets, like, like, or track meets, like you're there all fucking day.
All day.
All day. And you got a lot of spare time on your hands between the 30 seconds that they swim across the pool. And so I literally would just get on my phone and I would record a custom message. Hey, Draye, tell me a little bit more about the agency. And this was like when that first came out, like 6, 7 years ago. I don't know. I can't remember. We got so much business from that. It was crazy. Now I don't do it anymore because everyone started doing it.
Yeah, there's that old adage, marketers ruin everything.
No, they did. I spoke at ManyChat's conference and then everyone started doing it. I'm like, God, why did I tell anybody? It's like, shit. Because they were like, how much money did you make from that? I was like, I probably shouldn't have told anybody. I'm probably still going to be doing it.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, because I mean, you probably get all the emails too, like of the video, like, hey, Draye, I was checking out your site. And it doesn't even say your name. It just has your website in the background automated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you actually put some time into it, I would actually pay attention.
We did that like 2 years ago, like when the tech first came out. And then like 12-ish months ago, we saw a decline. 6 months ago, it was dead.
Yep.
So yeah, marketers ruin everything.
They do. Yeah. And that's the same thing with AI. Like I'm trying to think of the next thing. Like I'm almost wanting to go back to direct mail.
I beat you to it. I've been like pressing hard on it the last 2 years. I mean, I've always done it. I love it. Like it's one of my favorite things because people's email inboxes are so full. Like at this moment, right now, I've got 156,000 unread emails.
Why do you know, I heard a great hack. I think this was, who was the guy that did the 4-hour work week?
Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss. He said he goes on like a holiday for like a month and he puts in his vacation message. He goes, if you're seeing this reply, I'm on vacation. When I get back, there's no way I can possibly keep up with my email. I'm just going to delete them all. So if you want to reach me, if this is an emergency, you know how to reach me. If you want me to pay attention to it, email me back later on. Like literally just deletes like 100,000 emails.
I actually like that idea because I'm coming off of like a 4.5 week vacation right now. So yeah, I should have maybe done something like that. But it's part. I mean, also I'm subscribed to everyone's thing to always keep a pulse on the market and like what's going on. So there's like it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. But yeah, it's one of these things that people's email inboxes are more full now than ever, but their mailboxes are emptier now than ever. It's the occasional flyer from like PetSmart and like some EDDM stuff, like Every Door Direct Mail, like for some landscaping service, and maybe a few white number 10 envelopes that are bills, and that's it. Like so, the amount of effort that it takes to truly stand out is so like infinitesimal compared to, man, my subject line on email number 32 of this sequence is really popping right now.
Yeah.
So it's a different game. And a lot of marketers, I think, stay away from it because, oh my God, direct mail is expensive. Yeah. When you're comparing it to like sending an email or making a social post, yeah, sure. But if I were to look at all of our client base across the various businesses, the vast majority of them have come from direct mail.
Yeah. Have you used Pearls, like personalized URLs?
We were using Pearls like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we tie Pearls with custom video. They can do a lot of cool stuff with it, especially with AI now. So, you know, there's like various things. The vast majority of the market has not caught on to video AI stuff yet, where it's like, hey, Bill, hey, Susan, hey, John. So on any given month, we'll make 10,000 custom videos. And then send them out that way. So Pearls are a cool way to do that. There's a bunch of ways you can skin that cat.
Yeah,
but yeah, direct mail is awesome.
We did that many years ago for singular.com. If you remember, like before they were AT&T,
Yeah, with a little like yellow stick
It looked
figure
like the
man.
little sticky guy, like an
Yeah.
orange sticky guy, if you remember,
Uh-huh.
right? It was a huge cell phone company, and we did pearls for them. We had a 32% success rate.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so they were like, "What else could you do?" I was like, "Well," and then
Hold
they
my
got
beer.
sold, and I was like, "Damn it." Screwed it all up.
That's funny.
Well, this has been fun, Dre. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
I think the way that the conversation went, I would say, if anything, your brain is wired for growth. You're a marketer, which is awesome. Do more of that. But you never know what's around the corner. So I would, before, the next podcast comes out or the next this or that, or the dog barks or the mailman comes, whatever else, I would do a Google search for someone in your area and find a local independent insurance agent that can really set you up, because it's not worth possibly ruining all of the time, effort, energy, and attention that you've put into your business right now as a marketing agency to have it possibly destroyed for some dumb reason. So for a couple $1,000 and 20 minutes of your time, that's one of them.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, because think about the mind. Like, if you have to go, my God, I have to spend 250,000, 500,000 on legal fees, even though you're in the right, just to prove you're in the right. Like, yeah, a couple thousand, you'd be like, yeah, this is nothing.
it's that and the opportunity cost. How much of your time, even if you have attorneys, you're going to have to take answering questions or doing the depositions or discovery or all the other sort of stuff. So it's just not worth it. And the other part of it is, I would do a serious look or analysis of what are the rooms that you're in. Like, obviously being in your mastermind is one of them. Like, you're going to learn other tactics, skills of what other marketers are doing. But one of the coolest things I ever pulled away from Jay Abraham was, go fishing in someone else's swimming hole. So go to the real estate agents, conference, whatever else. And you don't need to know a damn thing about real estate, selling real estate. But if you help them, go to their thing and hang out around them and be in those rooms. So find the other rooms that are not necessarily all the same industry stuff that you're in, where yes, you're sharpening your saw, which is great, but find other people's swimming holes and go play in those and go fishing in those. So those would be the couple things I'd say would be just expanding on what we covered earlier that we didn't necessarily touch on.
Awesome. Well, Dre, thanks so much for coming on and talking about the boring insurance stuff, but that can really protect you. But then also the exciting part about, how can we, get the clients we really want. So I appreciate you coming on the show. And until next time, have a swank day. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want more content like this, make sure you click on the link on the screen or check out your most popular podcast platform where the full episode is there. And until next time, have a swank day. What are you doing? Go check it out. Click on the link. I'll see you soon.